In the morning, I'm making waffles.
Whoever said orange was the new pink was seriously disturbed.
And when it comes to huge openings, a lot of people think of me.
Just call me a fuck ass.
Brilliant. Scary. I get nasty when I'm horny.
Okay, welcome to Not Another 2001 Movie Podcast. So today we're going to answer the eternal question, is there more to life than being really, really ridiculously good looking? I'm Allison.
I'm Slate.
And I'm Josh.
All right, guys, put on your haute couture and grab an orange mocha frappuccino because it is time to talk Zoolander. But first, question of the week. What's your idea of a fashionable outfit, or what is your personal fashion style like?
Josh, you're the most fashionable one here. Let's hear it.
Well, this is sort of my favorite outfit time of the year. I hate fall, I hate winter, but I love sweatshirts, and that's my go-to. If I could wear sweatshirts in the summer, I'd be a very happy man. And I guess I could. There's nothing stopping me from doing that except the fact that I like to sweat, but I don't want to smell up a joint. So I love sweatshirts, especially the nerdier or sportsier the better. But aside from that, yeah, just sweatshirts and shorts of any variety. I'm not real picky. Ball shorts are my favorite, but cargo shorts, I'm the king of cargo shorts. I probably.
What about jorts?
Oh, I did own jorts in middle school. I remember a pair. Oh my God, what was that brand? The Hot Topic brand that was.
Jinko, like the JNCO
or something like that. Yeah, it was like, oh my God, I had a pair that. It was the only time I ever wore white pants. They were like white cargo shorts, and they were atrocious. I look back on that now. I don't think there are photos of me in those shorts, but if there are, that would be like the thing that keeps me out of political office. Would be those photos, those shorts.
I would love to see.
It's like
those
Ted
photos.
Cruz's white boots. That was him, right? That was wearing those like white boots in the flooding.
Okay. All right.
What about you, Slate?
Yeah. So for me, I think if you're gonna end up watching a lot of these episodes, you'll see that my wardrobe will always consist of a hat. All of my hats will match my shirts and my sneakers. So I'm very big on like retro sneakers, not Jordans though. I wear like Griffeys and Pippins and Foamposites, graphic tees, sweaters, hoodies, anything that's sports team related, of course, but also I have an affinity for retro, like vintage, t-shirts. Like, yesterday I was wearing a Blade shirt. Anything horror movie related, musical album that I enjoy related, tour shirts, all that jazz is kind of my everyday go-to with, any kind of like joggers. I like a good, like khaki jogger pant that cuffs in under my shoes so that I can show my shoes off. Shorts, whatever. I just recently got into the above knee short trend. I'm trying to take a couple years off my age. So I'm in the dad short mode sort of thing. Hoochie daddies, whatever they call them, My girlfriend likes those now, so I guess I wear them.
The back of the knees air out, yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you, for the longest time, like if it did not touch my kneecap, we aren't wearing it. But you got to do what you got to do to make the lady happy, right? So, but other than that, I do also I love getting dressed to the nines for an event. So when it comes to putting on a dress shirt and a sport coat with a vest and tie, like sign me up for it. So I think there's two different trends there, but those would be my go-to.
I've covered the Kentucky Derby a few times, and so I was there in May, and that's the last time I remember wearing pants that weren't just like chinos or something like that. I mean, like it was like dress pants, a nice jacket, that sort of thing. But I hate dress shirts. I would be the guy that shows up to the Derby in a sweater or something. I would totally be that guy if I wasn't working. I would go totally be the slob in the infield, drinking, slamming awful beers.
Bush lattes.
bush lattes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I wore a brown suit, a full brown suit to a wedding this year, and I was extremely worried about how that would look. You know, that's a bold choice, but the girlfriend had a nice brown dress. It was a brown themed wedding, and it worked out really nice. I think the sneakers I had with it made it help. They were like as Ben Stiller would say in There's Something About Mary. It was like the guy said it's tan and taupe, you know. So. But yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm devolving. Like I used to go to such effort and I dressed nicely at work and I wore like nice business dresses and heels and, nice tailored trousers and stuff. And like today I wore this to work and it is a shirt I got at the Cat Cafe that instead of saying the different pronunciations of Louisville, it's Meowville.
Oh
Yeah,
boy,
I love
that's
it.
amazing.
I was so tired. I was like, I just know jeans and this cat t-shirt.
COVID changed so much when it comes to like what people wear to work now. It's crazy.
Yeah. But I do enjoy getting dressed up too on occasion, Slate. Like it's nice to just like, do that Princess Diaries Anne Hathaway transformation every once in a while.
Yeah, feel like $1 million,
Mm-hmm.
You're like just stepping out, just like, bow. I don't know. There's just something about it. Nice.
That to me, you brought that up, Slade. I do think that's my favorite. Of all the outcomes and things of COVID, obviously not something we'd ever want to go back and deal with again. But I actually quite like the fact that we kind of lessened our standards as a nation collective. We just all decided to keep rolling with it because, I think, business attire is nice. Don't get me wrong; it's great to see people all dressed up. But I also think there's like just a charade to it. And I mean, there's a lot of charade to almost all of, white collar work in some layer of it. But I think that's one of the things that we did a good job at least kind of putting a chink in the in the armor of that charade. So but yeah, I feel like it's weird. My standard attire for work is because I got used to not having to really dress up because again I was a full-time sports writer for a long time and it was easy. You're not expected really to show up and look great.
Yeah, just like a polo and some shorts or something.
Yeah, so yeah, that was my standard thing typically out going to games, and that's what I just carry that into now. I work in an office environment, and I just kind of just kept doing the same thing, and nobody ever told me it wasn't good enough. So
there you go.
All right, so y'all ready to talk some Zoolander?
I guess so.
Yeah, let's do it. Throw me some
right.
blue steel.
Got a little background here I'm going to go through. Feel free to hop in with any commentary. But for our listeners, Zoolander's 2001 comedy starring Ben Stiller, Owen Wilson, Christine Taylor, Will Ferrell, and perhaps the most cameos I have ever seen in a movie. I was trying to think of other movies I'd seen, and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back previously probably was the one I thought had the most, and we blew past that. For this movie.
Also a 2001 movie, though.
Also a 2001 movie that was on my list under comedy. But I even Googled, I was like, what is the movie with the most cameos? And there's all these arguments about what constitutes a cameo. But essentially, a lot of people were agreeing that it's a Mad, Mad World from the 1960s. And I was like, well, this like modern, I couldn't really find any good like modern day examples. Like this one might be.
Happy Gilmore 2 would give it a run for its money. That's about it. I mean, every scene in Happy Gilmore 2 has somebody in it.
I forgot that came out. I haven't watched it yet.
Check it out. If you liked Happy Gilmore 1 and you're a Sandman fan, check it out. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so Zoolander is directed by Ben Stiller. It's a satirical, over-the-top glimpse into the world of modeling and high fashion.
Did you ever think that maybe there's more to life than being really, really, really ridiculously good looking?
The character of Derek Zoolander was kind of created apparently for the 1996 VH1 Fashion Awards, and they did like a little short film that they showed at the awards. It's kind of like a send up. The character itself was created by a comedian that I hadn't heard of named Drake Sather. And in my original notes, I was like, man, I hope he's rich now. But I looked him up and he actually died by suicide in 2004. So then I was like, oh God, that's a bummer.
Right. That's right.
So the short film was hugely popular, and then they came back and decided, let's make this into a full-length film. And it was released, didn't realize this either, just a few weeks after 9/11. Grossed just under 61 million, budget of 28 million, so it was not a huge hit. Critical reviews were, we'll say, mixed. A lot of critics hated it, and even the critics who kind of gave it a good review were like, there's some really good gags, but there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't hit. It has a 64% on Rotten Tomatoes, which technically makes it fresh based on reviews, although we know Rotten Tomatoes is like not really the best gauge of that.
Hey,
But
D's
I was-
are passing.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
the CineScore is a C plus, and that's usually those are like audience polls. And I was shocked that it was that low because I feel like it's become such kind of a beloved classic that usually those scores are so much higher than what the critical score would be. So that kind of surprised me.
I saw when you put that in the notes, I was surprised it was that low. Like if you told me it had been a B or a B plus, I would have been okay. But like, cause C, that is almost
Yeah.
something that almost constitutes like no one's even gonna watch it. And
I mean, there's a lot of pure trash, absolute shit that will get like B plus ratings from a CineScore. So
Well, see, like for me, I got two things one, I want to ask the question: do you think that the box office ratings and kind of the lack of success for this film at the time that it came out, do you think part of that is because this is a rated R comedy? Because part of me feels like they may have pigeonholed themselves in their audience, and I think it may have been a little bit more successful if it was tiered toward PG-13. And I think honestly, if you released it today, it probably would be borderline PG-13.
I didn't realize it was R. And
I think it's a
I'm trying-
PG-13. Yeah, that's
no,
what I
it's
was
a
thinking,
rated
too.
R film.
What?
I don't think so.
All right, now we all got to Google it.
I'm on the IMDb right now, and where's the rating at?
We're gonna get to watch in real time as Slate figures out his whole point went away.
No, I'm telling you, it's rated R because I was like, holy shit, this movie's rated R? Hold on. We're going to Google it. What was...
Oh, it says it initially had a R rating for the orgy scene, and they had to make cuts to it.
It says
Oh,
PG-13
okay.
on the DVD.
All right. Well, Paramount Plus says rated R. That's all I know.
Huh.
Well, I wonder if they have a different version. So that's that's an interesting.
I watched it on Paramount Plus too. Yeah.
So I've watched a different version possibly than you guys have.
Okay. Well, just scrap that, but going back to my second point, I honestly am not surprised by this, like the score of it from Rotten Tomatoes, the cinema score. I think this is a very polarizing film. I think for the majority of people, you either love it or you hate it. And if you're not in on the joke, 9 times out of 10, especially, like you're not gonna love it. I think also because so many critics weren't really big fans of it, that people are reading it, they're like, well, that movie sucks. I'm not gonna go waste my money to see it when I can go see something else. I think all those things are kind of working against it. So to me, that doesn't really surprise me. I think the people that love it are the people that like are beholden to it and like think that it belongs up there as like an all-time great comedy, and I can understand the case for that. But I'll be the first one to tell you that when I was working at a movie theater in 2016 and Zoolander 2 came out, I'm looking around and I'm like, who the fuck asked for this movie? So
Yeah, we'll get into that later, but yeah. Roger Ebert was one of those critics that this just did not hit for. And I've told you all, like, I really, really loved Roger Ebert. I didn't always agree with him, but I enjoyed his reviews, and I thought he was usually pretty fair, and he would change his mind sometimes later on. But I I just have to read the quote from his review of Zoolander in 2001. There have been articles lately asking why the United States is so hated in some parts of the world.
oh god, he's cooking already.
Right. As this week's Exhibit A from Hollywood, I offer Zoolander.
That's amazing. That's more scathing than the Time article that is written about him in the film. That's fucking great.
To quote another classic movie that also riffs on fashion, that is way harsh, Ty.
I guess so.
So I was reading about it, and there's a Huffington Post article from 2013, and Ben Stiller, Ebert died. Was it 2012 or 2013? I can't remember. But he says that Ebert approached him some years later and basically apologized and said, "I want to apologize to you. I wrote that about Zoolander. I think it's really funny now. Everything was a little crazy back then. It was September 11th, and I went overboard." I was like, "You ain't wrong about that." Everybody was going overboard back then. I saw this movie in the theater. That I was in college. When did you all see it and where? Or do you remember?
I watched it for the first time 2 weeks ago. Probably the week I turned 35. It was a little birthday treat to myself to prepare. It was something I'd hoped to watch before we did our draft, and I can't remember if I got it in before then or not, but it was, so for me it was just an at-home, lights off, trying to keep the cats calmed down. Everybody else is asleep. It's like 10 o'clock at night. I'm just sitting on the couch, and I'm sitting there, and we'll get into it once we start actually talking about our reactions, but I laughed a lot. I was like, found myself snickering quite a bit. So but I didn't get to have that in audience experience, which I think is so part of like a really good comedy experience, is getting to be in a theater with people.
Yeah,
I will give you that. I definitely think that seeing this movie with an audience could have had a massive effect on how you viewed the film. If you're in, the audience with the full theater and most of the people aren't laughing and they're like, "What the shit is this?" then you might also think like, "What the shit is this?" But if 75% of the audience is actually laughing at the over the top gags and stuff, then you would walk away thinking it was a funny movie. I think that's one of those situations too, that it kind of split. For me, I don't remember when I first saw this movie. But like I said on the last discussion that we had, I watched this movie once, the first time I saw it when I was young, like when it first came out. And for the second time ever was yesterday when I watched it. This film is very much, to me, not my cup of tea in humor for the most part. I definitely think it has aged better, and I catch myself still not laughing out loud, not really even chuckling, but you get some side smirks of some like nostalgia that is kind of funny. But like, this is a movie that I could totally see Andy Samberg making now, and I absolutely fucking despise his humor. So for me, this was just not my thing. But it's aged a lot better than what I felt like it did when I first saw it. So I definitely give it that it has that redeeming quality to it, and it's very 2001, so it's perfect for this podcast.
It's very 2001. Also, I just have to say, I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And I really like Pop Star Never Stop, Never Stop, and Never Stop. I thought it was really, yeah.
No, I can't do it. Like,
Yeah, but I did, when I saw this in the theater, the audience was with this movie, and everyone was laughing. And I remember going into it thinking like, this looks, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. I didn't think the trailer was that great, and I came out of it being like, okay, like I had a good time. That was pretty funny. For anyone listening, one of the best articles that I found, if you're interested in learning more about this movie, is called An Oral History of Zoolander from Vanity Fair. It's just snippets of kind of conversations from actors and production members that just kind of telling stories. It was really interesting. And I just wanted a few fun facts from that article that I didn't know that I wanted to share. So the name Derek Zoolander was based on the name of a popular mid-90s model named Mark Vanderloo, known for ripping Hugo Boss, and more importantly, he was the face and the abs of Calvin Klein Obsession. Jake Gyllenhaal auditioned for Hansel. They apparently they're like, he came in with a whole take and we liked it, but they just thought Owen Wilson was better suited for the movie. Andy Dick was going to play Mugatu.
That would have been gold.
He was filming a show, and they apparently, Ben Stiller was like, "Quit your show and come do this movie." And he's like, "No." And he was like, "God, I should have quit that fucking show."
I love Andy Dick. Andy Dick would have made this movie so
He's
great
in the
for me.
movie. He's unrecognizable, but he is in the movie. An early draft had Derek having an identical twin who was also a Bruce Springsteen impersonator, and it was just because Ben Stiller thought that he would be able to do a pretty good Springsteen impression.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and the original ending was going to be Zoolander stopping an oncoming train with his Magnum look, failing, and then ascending to heaven.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
They give them credit. They swung for the fences with the film. I'll say that.
Without much further ado, I give you the deranged Zoolander, Center for Kids Who Can't Read Good.
As I told these two before we started, I like to go in chronological order because it just helps my brain keep from bouncing around everywhere. So this movie opens, they're talking about what's going on in Malaysia. A new prime minister, who's apparently a very kind man who's going to end child labor, has been inducted into office. And there are 5 fashion designers, and each one's from a different country. You can tell because they're all doing an accent, but they're in shadow. And they're, conspiring with Will Ferrell as Jacobim Mugatu, because they're like, we need child labor, so we need to assassinate this president. And when I was watching, I'm like, these designers have to be somebody. Like, they're all in shadow. They're all doing a crazy accent. And when at the end I went and looked at the credits, Jennifer Coolidge is the designer on the end. She isn't, you don't even see her speak. You hear her speak one time because she's the American designer. But for the rest of the time, she's just kind of in shadow off to the side. Nora Dunn is the woman who speaks. But I thought that was so interesting to have. We're already starting with cameos, and you can't even tell who they are.
It's cameo the movie, and it's fitting that it starts like that right off the jump. And I'm just glad we were able to get a Jennifer Coolidge movie into this series, because Legally Blonde's sitting over there thinking, what's happening?
Oh, poor Legally Blonde. They name dropped Fabio, who I don't know why he was such a thing. I mean, I think I was probably a little bit too young for him, but he was apparently the world's highest paid model in the early 90s.
They don't name drop him. He's the one that's like reading off
they name drop him,
award,
and then
yeah.
he shows up
he's
later
in it,
at the events.
It was the book covers, right? He was like big, like he was on a lot of book covers. That's what I remember him from growing up, is seeing him on like
the romance novels.
Smut novels,
yeah.
Or I guess maybe it was smut then. I don't know. That whole genre is evolved into something. I don't really
Erotic fiction.
Yeah, erotic fiction. There you go. That's a good blanket term. But
Then he was doing the butter commercials too.
Yeah, I can't believe it's not
that's
butter.
right.
I can't believe it's not butter
I
commercials.
forgot about that.
Fabio, man. That's amazing.
Yeah. Will Ferrell as Mugatu. This is one character that doesn't really work for me. I have liked Will Ferrell in a lot of things. In terms of, I loved him as a villain in like Austin Powers, but there's just something about this character that just kind of grates on my nerves a little bit. I didn't particularly think that he was very funny. I appreciate his commitment to the character, but yeah, I thought he was the weakest part of the movie for me personally.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, and I love Will Ferrell. I think Talladega Nights I would put up there as one of my all-time favorite comedies, if not perhaps my favorite, depending on the day you ask me. But this performance, it's just all the physicality of it's the kind of the only thing that really carries it for me. And I love the scene later when they do the brainwashing. Like that's that's the Ferrell I want to see. But I kind of get it. It's just he's a hard guy when he's in a scene. I feel like in any movie, if he's not giving it 1,000, you can tell, and you just keep wondering like, why is he holding it back? And I think that in this movie, he needs probably to hold it back because it's there's so much absurdity from from Ben Stiller's character Zoolander. I mean, it's if you had 2 things like that going at once, it might kind of overload. But yeah, it's unfortunate. I'm with you, Allison. I think he is probably the weakest part of this movie, unfortunately. Which I don't know. He matters, but he doesn't. in a way. Like it's,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
another
it's-
thing where the driving plot of the movie is sort of secondary to what's really happening.
He could have easily been written out, and they could have gotten everything they needed to do without him in it. But yeah, I'm sure Ben Stiller's friends with him, and he was excited to come in and wear that bizarro wig, weird Wolverine style pointy ear thing. And
With the dog. The dog is
dog.
amazing.
I watched some outtakes on the DVD this last rewatch. My wife and I were sitting here watching it, and also it was the second. I forgot to mention this in our last recording. So this is 2 movies in a row that my son has been in the room while we started watching it. And yesterday he started saying "vroom vroom" while we were watching Fast and Furious, and today he started saying "ma ma." He was trying to say "male model" while we were watching this movie. So I don't know what he's going to learn next, but we're just going to start teaching him vocabulary words through this podcast, which is an unexpected benefit that I wasn't anticipating.
Nice. For me, see, I would totally disagree with you guys. I think that Farrell and Owen Wilson are my 2 favorite parts of this film. It is not the Derek Zoolander character at all. Like I said, just the style of humor that Ben Stiller is going for in this film does not work for me. I think that the physical comedy of what Farrell is doing, as far as like the way he looks, his dress up, his just entire build of that character and his motives and stuff, and he's got a couple like little one-liners that I caught myself smirking at. But Stiller had a few like really good ones too in there. But for me, I thought that Farrell was more captivating, and I think that Owen Wilson was the right choice over Jake Gyllenhaal. He definitely fits the Serper vibe. God bless, if Gyllenhaal was in this movie, I really would.
I'm sitting here wondering what that would have looked like just what that character. It would have had to have been a completely different character, right? Like, there's no way that Gyllenhaal would have played that character like Owen Wilson to me.
So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that Mugatu's. For me, I enjoyed Mugatu more than probably most, but this film sits with me like kind of a lot of Will Ferrell movies when you first saw them, in the sense that Anchorman I thought was stupid probably the first 8 or 9 times that I saw it.
He was giving it a lot of chances.
I did.
I keep stabbing myself. Eventually, it's going to feel good.
Right. But by the 10th time, I was quoting it and laughing the entire time. And like, I feel like maybe if I brainwashed myself enough to watch Zoolander, I'd like it, but I'm never going to do it. So.
He's got it on in the background right now, by the way, listeners.
I do. I've kind of. They're doing the model walk.
You're gonna get
right
brainwashed. Yeah, like the scene later. It's gonna worm its way into your brain.
Yeah, they're doing the model walk off with David Bowie, and he's like for instance, Hansel's like, I can't see, you gotta cut me. And he cuts the eye, like the hair over his eyes. And like, all right, that's pretty good. They're doing the underwear sequence and all that. So. That's a fun part.
Slade will just be dreaming and relax. Don't do it. We'll click on the middle of his sleep tonight.
I will say this: I saw this movie one time, and I could never hear "relax" again without thinking of this movie.
The point of the opening scene is we have to establish that they need a beautiful, self-absorbed simpleton, as one of the designers says, that they can brainwash into murdering the Prime Minister of Malaysia. And then we do a hard cut to the Derek Zoolander photo shoot, which I love. And this is him flitting around and doing his blue steel. And Christine Taylor plays an investigative journalist. Christine Taylor is Ben Stiller's wife.
Was she his wife at this time?
They had gotten married the year before, I believe. So pretty freshly married. The only note I wrote here is like the constant duck face that he's giving. From this, just to have to like purse your lips and like hold that face in every scene. It's tiring. I don't know if you've tried it, but I've tried it, like holding it for a few minutes. I'm like, God, that must have been exhausting.
He's a very underrated, or at least I think, an underrated physical performer, Ben Stiller. Because I always think of at this time, I mean, this is sort of overlap. His career overlapped a lot with Jim Carrey, obviously, who I think of as like the master physical performer, and I wouldn't say that Stiller's in that same ballpark, but he's really good, and in more subtle ways, and I don't know that gets called out enough.
Yeah, and I mean, he was really known for, he directed Reality Bites, which I totally forgot about until I looked it up. I forgot he was the director. But
Was this
I guess,
his first one since then?
I think there was something else lesser known that I saw that he directed. But I guess at this point,
Did he
he's probably-
direct Heavyweights?
I don't know.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think he would be best known by most people from There's Something About Mary and Meet the Parents, and maybe the Ben Stiller Show if you're older and watched. I never watched that show. I remember it being on, but it wasn't something that I watched.
That's the other thing that makes the box office really interesting on this, is because Meet the Parents was his most recent movie that came out before this, and that like did banger numbers. I mean, it's spawned a franchise, and There's Something About Mary was one of the biggest movies of 1999. So it's strange that this didn't connect in the same way as those. I mean, it's not. I mean, home runs are home runs. You don't expect them every time out. But for this to just, I mean, more or less bombed at the time of release is really interesting on the heels of that stuff.
Yeah. I guess, like, you know, in those two movies, he's kind of a hapless, I don't want to say schlub, but
I guess they have that romantic comedy element.
Kind of put down upon, and this is him being a completely egotistical, like, the world revolves around me. So maybe it was really just the character, not so much him.
Found his directorial stuff. He did not direct he did direct Reality Bites. That was his debut. He did not do Heavyweights, but he did do The Cable Guy, starring Jim Carrey.
Oh, there we go. They worked together. Okay.
He directed The Cable Guy, and then Zoolander was his next film as a director.
So he went a while then between director stints.
He did a TV movie in between, and it was called Heat Vision and Jack.
With Jack Black. He's the Jack.
Have you seen this movie, Allison?
No, it's a show, and I swear I remember seeing something about it back then. I never watched it, but when I read that earlier too, and I was like, oh yeah. So the Zoolander photo shoot basically establishes that he's a, you know, egotistical, dim-witted idiot, for lack of a better term. Christine she's the straight man of this movie, right? I mean, she's the one trying to be normal around all this, like, completely absurd chaos. I guess she's the stand-in for the audience. So from there we go straight to the Male Model of the Year ceremony, and my first note is, oh my god, Donald Trump is in this fucking movie. Oh.
Here's my hot take. I actually think that scene is better today than it would have been then in the given the context of what we know Trump as today versus what the audience watching that movie in 2001 would have known Trump as, because I think these, I mean, obviously him being there is such a, you know, trigger point for people, and they're gonna have different thoughts and red flags go up. But I actually think because he says something like, you know, Derek Zoolander is the greatest male model in the world. Like, it's like
he's doing his campaign. Derek Zoolander's just the best. Isn't he terrific? He's the best. He is so good. I mean, the ultimate, you know, male model, and that's just all that there is to know about him. Like,
that's only slightly exaggerated from what's actually in the movie.
Yeah.
So
pretty close. I mean,
he's one of the first ones, right? He's like the second interview on that red carpet.
Oh yes, because that was it starts, and I'm immediately like am shriveling on the inside as soon as that scene starts.
And then you get Cuba Gooding Jr. talking about his hair being the white man's afro, which was nice.
I missed that line the first time I watched this, and I was watching the second time. I was like, oh my god, I started cracking up.
There's some like real life designers too. They're like Tom Ford's in there. Natalie Portman is young Natalie Portman there for like a hot second.
It's like barely Star Wars Natalie Portman. She'd only done one Star Wars movie up to that point. Yeah. I guess she was probably filming the second one right at that time.
Yeah. And amongst all of these cameos, we are introduced to Hansel, who comes riding in on his little razor scooter.
That's so good.
Which razors are still kind of a thing today. So I was like, well, I mean, but no, I love Owen Wilson as this kind of counterbalance to Ben Stiller. He's a free spirit. I love that he is, I mean, he's a handsome guy, but unconventionally so, with like the broken nose and, but a lot of, as I've learned from watching, years of America's Next Top Model, you know, modeling's not always about being the most beautiful, the prettiest, but like people who have really interesting features often, become very successcul at being models. And I just liked that he had kind of a unique look and he wasn't just a pretty boy counterpart.
Well, I think he's like Owen Wilson in most of his roles is more of he's just like a handsome regular dude. He's not like this over the top handsome. And in this instance, where it's him versus Stiller here in this early going in terms of the awards, I mean, he's clearly the better looking guy between the. I mean, the biggest thing of Derek Zoolander is he's fucking goofy looking. Like, that's the biggest irony of the whole thing. Like, it's kind of like the biggest joke of the whole thing is like, this dude looks fucking ridiculous, right? Like, and so the fact that like this, unconventionally handsome looking guy shows up and beats him and is his equal in terms of being a moron. Just a different kind of moron.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Another cameo that I actually laughed out loud at was Gavin Rossdale and Gwen Stefani are sitting together in the audience. I was like, if that does not firmly plant this movie in the early aughts. Yeah. Trump shows up again. He has another second cameo later, but it's just a glimpse of him. So the whole acceptance speech where, he doesn't realize his name wasn't called. I just thought of the Oscars Moonlight and La La Land fiasco. It's just like you went watching that in 2001 like, oh my god, that's so absurd. And then something not quite the same but kind of similar like happened in real life at the Oscars.
It immediately took me to like Kanye, kind of, where he was like, where he was like,
I'm gonna let you finish.
Yeah, well, not only that, but the other speech where he was also like, everybody wondered what I was gonna say if I didn't win. Well, I guess we'll never know, like I don't know. It's kind of like a mix between those two speeches happening at that time. And that's where my brain immediately went. Was like, oh, it's Kanye. So.
And a thing that made me laugh is when he goes outside and he's in Times Square and like looks up at when there's a billboard that says "Confused loser Zoolander tries to steal award." It's just...
How about the references, the like multiple references to The Lion King, where he's like, "Who am I?"
I haven't, as we said before, I haven't seen The Lion King, so that went over my head.
Oh my god, I forgot. Yes, Allison, like when he's like looking in the puddle, that's a scene from The Lion King where Simba's looking in the puddle and he sees his father's reflection trying to figure out who he is, and then he looks up at the sky and his father is like telling him, about himself. Like there's multiple Lion King references just blatantly ripped off in this film. It's amazing.
Yeah, that totally went over my head.
That's great. That's so good.
All right, from there, he goes back to hang out with his three model roommates, and this is where we get to see a baby Alexander Skarsgård, who looks like such a doofus.
Meekus, with a doofus name to boot.
I think he is handsome as fuck. Okay, but yeah, see, I was just like, how did he become so handsome from that? He just looks like such a goober in this movie.
There's no way that's Eric Northman from
right. That cannot be Sheriff Eric Northman.
I mean, he does have like such a more distinguished look about him today than, and probably in every role since this movie. I mean, he just looks like a.
It's like he grew into his features. Maybe I don't
It's
know.
weird. It looks like his teeth are like his front two teeth are like a extra set or something to make him look bucktooth or goofy. And maybe it's his original teeth. I don't know, but
yeah,
he definitely looks different.
So I guess he would have been in his 20s, right? And this he would have had to have been in his 20s. I'm looking at it now. It says he was 49 as of today, so he's probably in his 20s.
Yeah.
And I wondered, because he's gone on and he's I mean, he's a really prolific career,
Hmm.
and done a lot of really good things. By the way, I don't know if you've seen Murderbot on Apple TV, but he's he's the murder bot in that show, and I really enjoyed that show. It's based off of a book series, but just I'll throw that out there as a recommendation. I think he's really great in it. But I just think about like actors who've gone on to have these kind of more like professional, like serious careers. If they look back on a movie like this and they're like, yeah, why did I do that? But at the same time, like it's become kind of a beloved movie, so
Got to
maybe
get
he
your star
appreciates that
somewhere.
he just had, yeah, that he got to be a piece of it.
I wonder, did the other male models who tragically died in this gasoline fight, did they become anything? Because I
Not
didn't
really.
recognize the actors.
No,
Okay.
because I went and looked them up too. Neither one of them did very much. Kind of kind of a bummer for them.
Ahead of that, before we roll into the fight, the music cue,
This
the needle drop.
great needle drop.
Amazing needle drop.
That makes me look back on my wedding a lot different now, because that was the last song at our reception, and I just like that song. Yeah, so and I'd heard it and a long time ago, and I didn't have any frame of reference that it was in this movie in such a, pretty big. For the second biggest song in this movie, and this big cultural reference. I had no clue. I just thought like, well, we're just gonna go out like this is just gonna be our send off song or whatever. And now every time I hear it, I'm gonna be thinking about these guys blowing themselves up in a gas.
So I remember in the theater, so they're like orange mocha frappuccinos, and then it cuts to the song, and they're driving, and they're kind of bopping around, and everybody in the audience is kind of laughing because it's so silly. But once they got out the gasoline and were spraying each other, like everyone was howling. That is one of my favorite scenes because it is so unexpected.
I was
So
every time I've
stupid is
watched
what
it.
it
So
is.
stupid.
Every time I've watched it, I've laughed, like been rolling, and it helped that this last time I was watching it with my wife, but it's so over the top.
Gasoline fight. Like it's a pillow fight or something.
How about the pajamas too? Like Derek's in like a like a penguin onesie. Like, it's absurd.
Oh,
Absolutely.
so I can't remember which one of them lights the cigarette, but tragic end. Derek's off at a trash can looking at a photo of him on the cover of Time that says a model idiot, and he reads it as a model idiot.
Idiot. He gives an amazing googly or you googly
Googly.
you googly.
Yeah, we cut to the funeral, and he says his roommates, they were like my brothers. I don't mean like my actual brothers, but I mean it like black people used
Like
to.
black people used to.
Which I think is more
People were
meaningful.
nodding in the crowd.
Yeah, that was one of the best lines. That's great.
I love
And-
you Googleish one who speaks at
You
funerals.
Googleizer.
You
You
Googleizer.
Googleizer.
I did have to look up when Google actually became a thing, and it launched in 1998, but started becoming a big thing in the year 2000, apparently. So I guess it would have been sort of a name brand at this point. We get our first glimpse of David Duchovny creeping around in the background as a cemetery caretaker.
I did not notice him until the third time I watched this.
It's like 2 seconds. Yeah.
I thought it was John Ritter for the longest time. Nah, IMDb'd
yeah.
it, and I was like, oh, it's David Duchovny. I'm stupid.
We meet Jerry Stiller, Ben Stiller's father, playing Maury Ballstein, who runs a modeling agency called Balls Models, which I had not noticed until this last watch. And I'm like, how did I miss it? Because they keep cutting to the sign that says Balls Model, like every other scene. And I don't know if you noticed, Ann Mira, who is Ben Stiller's mom, so Jerry Stiller's wife, has a brief cameo as one of the protesters in this scene. So
I did
it
not
is a
know
whole
that.
family affair.
I love anytime that Ben can get his dad like included in something, and his dad plays the same character practically and everything. He's just kind of himself, like from the Seinfeld days to everything. But he's just amazing. I love him.
Yeah, he is true in the scenery and every scene he's in.
with the chest hair too.
Yeah.
Big white chest hair just coming out. It's great.
And from here we cut to I remembered that, they go to coal country, but
Yes.
the title says Southeast New Jersey. Because I'm from Eastern Kentucky. As I told you all, I am a coal miner's granddaughter. So like my family grew up in Williamson, West Virginia, South Williamson, like mining coal, and just the fact saying it was in New Jersey like made me laugh out loud, because again I'm like that's a weird take on that. But we get more bit parts and cameos here. So we got John Voight as his father, who doesn't approve of his choice of career. We've got Vince Vaughn, who doesn't say a single word, but just kind of slack-jawed stares like,
He steals
A
the
lot.
scene though.
He's
Like,
funny as
He
shit.
says everything he needs to say with a look in this
Yeah.
film. And it's
And
also
then-
amazing how John Voight looks like Christopher Walken when you put that wig on him.
The other brother is Judah Friedlander, who I did not recognize. So if you
I don't
watched
even know who that is.
Did you watch 30 Rock? He's the writer that always had like the ironic hat that had a different saying on it.
Okay.
I
But,
never watched 30 Rock.
He has a very specific look in 30 Rock, and here he's like clean shaven, and I did not recognize him at all. He also doesn't say anything because I guess why would you? You just need to stand there and look slack-jawed, and that's all you need to do here.
I think I got the black lung, Pop.
the mine scene, that when they're actually in the mine, the little music,
Yes.
like, that is so stupid.
Working
it's so,
for the
it's so
weekend.
like so
Yeah.
ridiculous. The coal dust when he's
The
jumps
cough.
out.
I think I'm getting the black lung, Bob. It's not very well ventilated down there.
So I put here in the notes, and Josh said, "Oh, I want to hear about this." That yes, I also got to go into a coal mine with a Newsweek reporter and one of our researchers. The researcher basically looks at like compounds from nature, and Kentucky is such a biodiverse place, that he came here and specifically was like wanting to like go into play. He's gotten like compounds from like coal fires and deep wells and stuff, and the idea is these things have adapted because they've been in these harsh environments, and can you manipulate them to create new drugs? That's the easiest way to say this is what he does. He tries to find stuff that you can turn into new drugs. He'd never been able to go into a coal mine, but wanted to, and I'd pitched this story to a reporter, and she's like, "I'll come to Kentucky and do it. Do you think we can go into a coal mine?" And I was like, "Oh shit, I don't know." And just by happenstance, somebody on the board of trustees knew somebody who owned this mine and got permission, and we got to drive down there, and it was an experience. Like, we actually rode the little train that takes you down 2 miles, pitch black, down into the mine. They're actually working. There's this giant machinery that's just like chewing up the walls and spitting back the chunks of coal into a truck, and the men
That's
go down
wild.
there. They are down there 9 hours a day. They don't come up for lunch. They just stay down there. And every one of them, I kind of asked them, it's like, is there anything else you'd want to do? And this seems like such a hard job. And they're like, no, I love it. I love it. I wouldn't do anything else. But it's one of the ways you can make good money
Yeah, it's one
in
of
that
the
part of the country. So
Hard
one of the
living.
few ways.
it is, hard, very, very hard labor. And if you're claustrophobic, I remember my grandfather, before some types of machinery were invented, talking about what's the thing mechanics use where you like lie on your back to go under a car. You know what I'm talking about? That little platform.
Yeah, it's like a little sliding thing,
It's
right?
called,
Yeah, that you
called
roll on.
something. But apparently there was something similar to that like you would have to dig out the coal by hand, and then like he talked about like sliding under it and having like a pick, and you just like like doing it by hand, but you're basically underneath of all of this rock in the dark wearing a headlamp, and
That might fall on you at
that
any
yeah
time.
that could fall on you at any time. So after they work in the mine, and he complains that he thinks he's got the black lung, they go to a bar that's called the Mine Shaft, but the light is out, so it says the Mine Shaft.
I missed that.
actually did not catch that.
That's another like little that I only noticed it on this last watch. There's all kinds of like little jokes like that I feel like I missed first few times around. So basically, John Voight as his dad, you know, the commercial that comes on when they're in the bar where he's the merman.
The merman.
And what does he say? He's like, water is the essence of life, and life is the essence of water.
Just the perfect send up of any bullshit commercial that is trying to sell you anything. It's essentially could be distilled down to that commercial in that movie. It's
so over the top. Again, like it's
I love the you're more dead to me than your dead mother.
That's brutal.
it's brutal.
I'm just glad she didn't live to see her son become a mermaid.
Merman.
It's a merman. He corrects him. And of course, Vince Vaughn's just standing there like,
It's like, oh. So Derek leaves, and he's, you know, he's wearing like a snakeskin suit or something. I don't know what he's wearing, but he's like trying to get back home. And the phone rings, and he pulls out it's like this size, the world's tiniest cell phone. And I laughed out loud because little flip phone.
It looks to be about 8 inches to me.
Yeah.
Stephanie loved that. That had her cracking up every time.
And then you hear Maury going, Derek, can you hear me? And he goes, God.
And Maury's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Give me a little pee-pee.
See, there's so many line readings like that they're just quick and hit that just like get me for some reason in this movie. All right, so Maury's calling because, you know, he's in bed with Mugatu and like, okay, yeah, we're gonna convince Derek to do this show, even though he claims that, you know, he's semi-retired, I guess. But the line that Mugatu's working on is called derelict. Inspired by trash and the unhoused population, I guess is the best way to put it. And honestly, half the clothes they were showing, I'm like, this would probably be in style right now, because I feel like the current Gen Z style is just to like look like a complete slob and oversized clothes and pants that are too short. And
I was gonna say, can we talk about that? Like when I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, but that derelict show is a lot like what Kanye West and Travis Scott and all of their fashion has kind of become, and where it was like plain black tees that are faded and raggedy and ripped and jeans with holes in them, and like it is very, I mean, they take it a wholly another level with the cardboard box dress and stuff, but in essence it's really kind of what became a huge fashion trend, you know, from the 2009 till almost today era. Wild.
I read that actually this was inspired, like kind of a mockery of John Galliano, who's a pretty famous designer. Actually had a collection that was sort of inspired by the homeless, apparently. I didn't get time to like dig into what that looked like, but apparently this is making fun of that. So we meet Mila Jovovich's character here, who it's Katrinka, I guess, the henchman.
Yeah.
Just kind of a generic Russian henchman.
She's a lot resemblance of the Radmatovich, Sadovich, whatever from Dodgeball. Like they're kind of one in a sense the same character.
That makes sense. Did Ben Stiller direct Dodgeball too?
No, he did not direct it, but
he was just in it. Okay.
He read about it in a book.
Okay, so David Duchovny's character, I think his name's JP, calls Matilda. Basically, he's trying to get to meet with her because he's got this inside information. Meanwhile, Derek goes to the world's strangest spa, where he gets when he gets his massage, and the masseuse is made up to be this like basically grotesque woman, and I was like, what's up with? They went with this choice for the masseuse, and she's just like beating on him. That's Andy Dick.
That's Andy Dick.
That's Andy Dick in a whole lot of prosthetics and makeup. Because I was thinking, it was like, it's just a I don't know, it's a weird choice that they like went this direction and no lines, just slapping on his ass and stuff. But
Was he filming the Andy Dick show at this time, or was it a different show that he
it was a different show that I'd never heard of.
Okay.
Something to have to do with fish.
Oh,
Maybe.
yeah. I don't know.
I don't know.
The Andy Dick show, actually, I thought was great. I was much more of a fan of that than what's his name? The dude that Freddy got fingered.
Tom Green.
Yeah, I liked the Andy Dick show way better than the Tom.
I don't think I watched the Andy Dick show. Go Fish.
Okay.
Kieran Culkin's first regular TV role.
Wow.
Yeah, so he turned down the role of Megatu to do that show that none of us had ever heard of.
He would have killed it as Megatu.
Phil Lord and Christopher Miller were writers on that show. They
Really?
became pretty prominent.
Yeah, okay. Honestly, I think I would have liked Andy Dick better as Mugatu. I would have liked to seen what he would have done with it. All right, so now we get the actual brainwash scene, which Josh, you said this is the use of Will Ferrell that I like, and all this absurd, kind of like a Clockwork Orange style. They're trying to hold open his eyes and making him watch all this crazy imagery, and it's not even subliminal messaging. It's literally Will Ferrell screaming like "Kill the president" or the prime minister, and
kids don't need to have child labor laws.
Eyes are bugging out, and the DJ who does the needle drop of Relax by Frankie Goes to Hollywood is Justin Theroux.
I knew that face. I kept pounding my
same.
head.
I was like, who is this guy? And I had to go look it up. I'm like, well, it's Justin Theroux, of course.
Okay, for people that don't know Justin Theroux, what is he mostly known for?
He just seems to be in so many things. Like I know he's in, is it the Leftovers? Is that the right show about where half the 2% of the world gets raptured? Am I saying the right title? Which I haven't watched yet. It's on my list, but I think he's probably best known for that.
You're missing that he's also in American Psycho. But he's also in the 2001 movie that we'll be covering later on, Mulholland Drive.
Oh, I don't remember him in that. I've only seen Mulholland Drive once though.
Yeah, he plays Adam in Mulholland Drive.
He was in the Beetlejuice sequel last year.
Okay.
Actually, honestly, I think he was probably for a while best known for dating Jennifer Aniston.
Well,
Hey, that's a good thing to be known for.
Yeah. I wouldn't have.
Good for him.
Taken that.
Yeah.
And so
he's in Tropic Thunder too.
Oh yeah, God, I forgot he was
in Tropic Thunder.
He's a Huey Gunner, and he's plays an evil DJ in a deleted scene. Apparently, I wonder if it's the same evil DJ.
I guarantee it is. Can we just say that Tropic Thunder is like the most underappreciated movie ever? It is.
It's my favorite Ben Stiller movie.
By far the best movie Ben Stiller ever did. Absolutely.
Have you seen the trailer for the new Anaconda with Paul Rudd and Jack Black?
Yes, it looks fun.
It looks like a Tropic Thunder kind of riff, and that we're going down here to make a movie and things go awry. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks fun. I sent it to Josh the day it came out and was like, "Yo, this looks like a blast. Like just stupid movie. Let's go enjoy." Like I'm here.
And it's got Steve Zahn in it, so.
Hey,
our boy. Our adopted son.
I love Steve Zahn.
that hopefully we can get on this podcast whenever we do the Joyride episode.
Fingers crossed, Allison. You got this.
Josh is the one that's got more connections.
We're working on it. Might have to go cover a few Sayer basketball games.
I'm swinging big for my Mr. Kentucky, so we'll see what happens. I don't think it'll happen, but I'd love to land mine too.
As part of Derek's brainwashing, he also somehow learns kung fu, I guess.
As you do.
As one does, Matrix style. They just plugged him in, and he suddenly has all this knowledge. But when they were doing the runway with the practice and the celebrity cardboard cutouts, you got Fred Durst popping up, Lil' Kim, Lance Bass,
who all end up showing up at the derelict show as
Right.
well,
Yeah.
which is great.
Plus Gary Shandling.
Yeah.
That was another random. I was like, okay, I get these three, and then he just shows
Yeah,
up. I'm like,
yeah, these
that's random.
contemporary artists who are pretty big at the moment, and then
Gary Chan.
I love that Steven Dorff is just at the model walk off, just front and center. Like I'm like, oh shit, it's Deacon Frost. Like,
Also a very 90s aughts actor. Also, he was in The Righteous Gemstones.
yeah,
Yeah, we talked about that last night.
I love gemstones.
Matilda goes looking for Derek. He's been missing for a week. She finally finds him at his apartment, and he just thinks that he slipped overnight. And when he goes to his answering machine, and I was like, "Oh, answering machines! Oh yeah!" And it says you have 1,200 messages, and he's like, "That is a little above average." I didn't look this up, but he's basically yelling at Matilda and just like, you're just here to increase your career as an investigative journalist, and you don't care who you leave dead and bloodied and dying along the way because you're just here as an investigative journalist. And he repeats the two lines, and I wasn't sure if that was intentional or if it was like him forgetting lines again. And I'd didn't get a chance to go look that up, but
I think it's a forgetting line situation because I'd had glossed over that the first couple times I watched it, so I was looking for it this last time. I was like, yeah, it does sound like he's just kind of reading, just like rolling his brain just went into autopilot for a second.
I felt like I got beat in the head with a rolling pin. I was like, what? What? Like, what just happened there?
But it works for the character, so whatever he's doing.
Yeah, I definitely think there was one of those outtakes or cuts where they kept it in, like just kept rolling, and they were like, no, that's actually really funny. You fucked up, but like leave that,
All right, that brings us to the walk-off, which I would say this is probably the most famous scene from this movie, right? What do we think? I mean, the gasoline fight, I think, is pretty close, but...
Yeah, I mean, the walk-off is, I would say that, yeah, or the relaxed sequence at the end.
This is the only scene that I'd ever, and maybe it's because it was in trailers or something, this was the only scene before I watched this movie that I felt like I recognized.
Yeah, more cameos. We got Winona Ryder, Paris Hilton, Billy Zane.
Billy Zane!
Who he keeps referring to by his full name. Shut up, Billy Zane! And then we have...
What is it Hansel says? Like, you should listen to your friend Billy
Zane.
He's a smart guy.
He's a cool dude.
Cool guy, cool dude.
He's a cool dude.
Oh god! And then we get the ultimate cameo, which is David Bowie.
David Bowie, so amazing.
His wife, Iman, was a model, so makes interesting choice that makes sense. And I read some quote somewhere where he was just like, "Oh, I read the script and I thought it sounded fun, and yeah, let's make fun of some fashion." But
I love how on one hand, I felt like, of all the cameos in this movie, his is one of the more subtle ones in terms of the performance. Like he just like, but they do the big blowout where it's like they put his name on the screen.
And it has good dance. Yeah.
He fits so naturally in this universe, though. Like he is the perfect choice to do that scene. Like
he is also a cartoon character.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. No, I really love this scene. So the needle drop, there's a lot of 80s needles drops. And so there's some songs that put it firmly in the time it's in. Like there's some Wallflowers and that Stop the Commotion song that is at the beginning, but then the Relax and here's Beat It, which somehow works perfectly for what they're doing. So I guess the rules of the game here are you do a certain kind of walk and the next person has to do that walk but add to it, and then he comes back and does the same thing and add to it, so it's kind of almost like a game of horse, I guess, having to add one more on. And this is where, as you mentioned, where they're acting like they're boxers in a fight.
Yes, it's great. It's so that
and
that
spitting into buckets.
Yes, that is the best part of the whole sequence. There is just sitting down with your cut man in the corner, giving you a massage, spitting in the bucket. But, it's almost like Raccoon is like, "You gotta cut me, Mick." It's like,
and he cuts his bangs.
Yeah, cuts like not even a quarter of an inch off his bang. Like you wouldn't even know that he cut it. And
can't see out there.
Yeah, can't see out there. That is amazing, absolutely amazing. That's like one of those things that feels like it could have been a Saturday Night Live skit that they were like, no, this has to go in a movie. It's so good, type thing.
Yeah. And it's looking like, Derek's holding his own, but then Hansel goes out and defies the laws of physics by sticking his hands down his pants and somehow pulling out his precious little tidy whities in one piece, raising them above his head. Derek goes out and tries to do the same and I gotta guess, he just annihilated his genitals. He pulls up, they don't come out, and he looks like he's just been kicked in the balls.
Are those bright green zebra print?
It's it's like a zebra print thong probably or something would be my guess. Speedo.
Yeah, so he's shamed, loses the walk off, goes off in shame, and the line that he's talking, Matilda, the character's trying to cheer him up, and you're so talented, and he's like, but I'm not an ambi-turner because he can't turn left on the runway.
Can we just say though, if you watch the movie, he turns left a million fucking times in this movie. He's all he is in the car sitting on the right side and he's turning left to speak to her. But it is a fun thing. It's I guess the walk and turn is what makes it the actual turn. Yeah. But I don't know.
From here we go. This is my favorite scene of the movie. So when they're David Duchovny's JP calls them mysteriously and come meet me at the cemetery. So they show up at the cemetery, and JP kind of pops out from behind a grave, and Ben Stiller goes, "Are you a ghost?" David Duchovny is giving fantastic. All this backstory for the movie of they've been brainwashing models for centuries, and how do you think John Wilkes Booth?
It's so good.
It's James Marsden as John Wilkes Booth for 2 seconds. It flashes to him and he's with his big mustache, James Marsden.
That's great. The original male model was John Wilkes Booth. Yep. And then, you're not telling me Lee Harvey Oswald was a male model. No, but the two men who shot him on the grassy knoll were.
They're high-fiving.
Yeah. That's great.
We got him.
All right, so this is my favorite line of the movie. So Derek says, "But why male models?" And JP gives this extensive, elaborate answer.
A minute and a half.
For a solid minute and a half, 2 minutes. You're following. That absolutely makes sense. He finishes. There's a second or two of silence, and then he repeats, "But why male models?" And JP's like, "But are you serious? I literally just told you that." So do you all know the story behind this is where Ben Stiller forgot what his next line was supposed to be?
No.
And instead of, when Duchovny finishes, he can't remember, so he just decides to repeat it, and Duchovny just went with it. And to me, I'm like, this ad-libbing, this is the movie. This encapsulates what this movie's about.
That makes it so much better, because the thing that tripped me up every time I was watching is Zoolander is interacting with JP Pruitt during this conversation too. It's not like it's just a minute and a half of spiel. Him and Matilda are interacting with him and asking questions while the spiel is going on. And then he comes back and says, "Why male models?"
We should also mention, I forgot, JP is there because he is a former hand model. And he has his hand encased in a hyperbaric chamber to keep it perfectly preserved. And he got out of the game before they could brainwash him because he knew what was up.
And that's when I found out I was in line to assassinate Jimmy Carter.
So how'd you manage to escape?
'Cause I'm a hand model, Mama. A finger jockey. We don't think the same way as the face and body boys do. We're a different breed.
So I think this is where Katrinka and the goons show up and they start shooting. So, they're escaping and JP kind of is giving them a chance, go off. You got to stop this plot. And Ben Stiller steps on his hand and breaks the little chamber on his way out. He's like, "You asshole." One thing that I think we'll come across in our 2001 movies, but the use of certain language that doesn't necessarily fly anymore. Earlier in the film, Maury uses the R word to describe something as stupid, and here Katrinka describes Matilda as a she-male.
Which
It-
that immediately I clocked that obviously one because of just it's something you don't hear anymore. But also I didn't get like masculine vibes from this woman the entire time leading up to that statement, and I was like, what?
I think that's why it stood out for me too, because I was like, it's actually an insult that doesn't even make sense. She just keeps saying that she like is wearing a Kmart suit, but not even that it's like a masculine suit or anything. So,
Well, she actually got it from J.C. Penney, and it was on sale.
on sale. Okay.
The
so
disgust in her face when she delivers that line to her is amazing.
Derek needs a place to hide, so they decide to go to Hansel's house because, as they say, like, this would literally be the last place anyone would expect me to go. So knock on his door, he opens, and they do this like little kid kind of just like, well, but like you hurt my feelings. Well, like you hurt my feelings. And then when they start to warm up to each other, I honestly was like, I just kind of love this like male bonding and not worrying about appearing, masculine or tough. And they're like, oh, but I really admired you. No, I admire you. And then suddenly they're best friends. And Hansel's house is it's a lot. There's like little people.
It's like a monk's temple.
It's
like
to call it a house is one thing. Like it's a harem.
A harem inside of a monastery, maybe.
It seems like a cool place. It's got skateboard ramps and
And I like Hansel brings him in. He's like, everybody listen up. Okay, here's the deal. So they brainwashed Derek so he killed the prime minister of Malaysia, but we're gonna stop that. Everybody cool? And they're like, oh yeah, it's just
it's Tuesday, bro. Of course.
Yeah, no one is fazed by anything. This is they start drinking some special tea. They don't ever really say what the tea is, but clearly it's sort of a hallucinogenic, maybe psychedelic sort of concoction. They start to get Matilda to open up as to why she kind of has this disdain for models, and she starts when she finally was like, I'm going to talk about it. She goes, well, when I was younger, I was the fat kid, and his reaction of ew immediately like made me laugh out loud.
I was this is the only time in the movie that I just did not care what was happening at this point to me, I don't know, it's like it hits a wall here for me every time I watch it. There's like one or two lines in the entire scene that I laugh. I remember laughing at it each time, but it just seems like it goes on for a long time. Like this scene feels longer.
I think it is kind of long. No, I agree with that.
And
they definitely drag it out.
Like where it goes, it's fine. I'm not like put off by that. It's just like it just feels like it drags for a long time. It's like it's the most intimate scene, which makes sense given where it goes, but in the movie. But it's also just, I don't know. It's like this conversation is just kind of boring, and like the way it like this it's just basically just a lot of exposition about this character who is important. She's been in the entire movie, but I don't know that it was like I wasn't sitting there wondering anything about this lady, really. I wasn't.
Do you wonder if maybe she, like, as an actress was like, I really want to have like a scene that's my own, and a scene where I can kind of like be the commanding presence, be the center, and not just kind of the sidekick to what's going on.
Probably, I could see that. And also, I also
this is my wife, so okay.
Right,
okay,
I was gonna say, I wonder
go.
if maybe he might have been the one advocating for that too. Given it is his wife, and it's it's interesting. It gives some, but it's also weird because like part of the scene is like it's set up to like basically like why she has this maybe some disdain for models, but I was a little up to that point like unsure whether she really did have disdain for models, or more if it was just she was just riding in an assignment, and she was more about trying to catch Mugatu more than anything, in my opinion.
Yeah, then she throws all her, inhibitions to the wind and has an orgy with male models. So, but
the tea will make you do some wild things.
She kind of finishes her speeches. Models made me feel bad about my body, so I became bulimic. Is the gist of that whole scene. But after she says I'm bulimic, and Derek says you can read minds, which I'm like, to me, I'm like, that's kind of funny. But what makes that scene funnier is Owen Wilson's face. He's like, you can read minds, and then he goes, like, he has such this big reaction a second after Derek says that, and that to me was like such a great moment from Owen Wilson.
I think that going into just giving her that scene and making it a, more of a backstory about her, I think that they think that giving her that makes her have a little bit more redeeming qualities, and therefore, like, at the end of the movie when, she's married to Zoolander or whatever and they have a kid together, like, it's like the happy ending, and it lands a little better than if they don't have that filler in there. It takes the movie from 130 or 100 and, or I'm sorry, an hour and 30 minutes to an hour and 40 minutes, and gives it a little bit of filler that makes you feel a little bit better about those two kind of being together. If she doesn't have that, and then they just have the orgy sequence, and then they get married at the end of the movie, you're like, okay. I don't know.
So how awkward do you think it is to film a sex scene with your partner? I mean, they don't show a lot, but like they kind of show Ben Stiller like kissing up on her arm, and then Owen Wilson comes in, and I was just like, I feel it must be incredibly awkward.
I guess it depends on how close you are off screen with like the other participants, and I think it's something. I mean, I guess every individual is different, but actors, that's part of the deal. In terms of what you're going to probably encounter at some point when you're working. And I don't know. I guess it depends on the context of the scene, because this looks like something that might have been very, tame behind the, like, as it was being filmed. Even, like, I mean, we see like implied naked people, but it could be like they could have been clothed from the entire waist down, or the entire even torso, because we don't even see chest of people really. So
yeah, they cut away pretty quick from them and then show just like the monk guy somehow gets involved. The little peoples like suddenly appear, and the camera is basically just spinning, so you just kind of see their reactions in their face. But
I honestly wanted to see what like an unrated or rated R version of this, where they kind of elaborate more on it, not with like nudity or the sexuality, but get just really crazy about kind of like what you're envisioning
like
as your high having.
and...
Yeah, just get really weird with it, over the top.
Are you thinking Team
weird.
America level of weird?
No. I'm thinking more along the lines of Anchorman, when she's like, "Take me to Pleasure Town." Oh, we're going there, and they're like riding on the rainbows and shit, and a polar bear pops out of nowhere, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, just crazy shit. Like, I don't know. I just think that you could, like, they really could have like cooked hardcore in the orgy sequence, and I think there would have been some really good physical gags that we missed out on. But for the time, I understand why it is the way it is.
Have you seen the new Naked Gun, the one with Liam Neeson? Either of you?
No, I have not.
I thought it was really, really funny. There's some interesting sex scenes in that movie that I think are going to scratch that itch that you're talking about.
Okay, I'm down.
Yeah,
I'm down.
All right, I think so basically, like, all the evidence that we need to, show that Mugatu's kind of behind all this is in the computer, and we've got to go get the files out of the computer. And you said this is your favorite scene.
This is my favorite scene. My absolute favorite scene. It's earlier I had it on, and when they're getting all dressed up, and he's like, "Do you have makeup? They won't be looking for us." And he just has like just a basic ass makeup kit, and it's clearly
just eyeshadow.
Yes.
It's like an eyeshadow palette.
And it's clearly two different actors. One's Hispanic and one's black. And they like, that is so good. I don't know why, but it is amazing. And they get in, break in, and neither one of them have any idea how to use the computer. They're kind of just tapping on it, banging on it like monkeys. And she's like then the makeup comes off and everything. But the whole concept of the files are in the computer, and Hansel has this gigantic like aha, eureka moment, and he just takes the computer with him, the whole thing, thinking that the files
it's 2001, so it's one of those enormous, colorful
big
Apple
Mac orange with the handle behind it that you had in your home tech classroom. It was amazing. I love that sequence. Definitely, that was what got the most chuckles out of me. Was all of that, and then of course when where he destroys the files by smashing the computer later. Just great, absolutely great comedy right there.
I really love that. He's like, I've got makeup, and I think that you're kind of expecting. I mean, I could see a lesser movie trying to do some sort of blackface, honestly,
Yeah.
like thinking that would be the funny part, but the fact that they literally just cast two completely unrelated actors that don't remotely look like either of them.
That's what makes
no body
it so
type,
good. That's
nothing.
what makes
Yeah. Age, like the
Yeah,
guy
they
who's
So good.
who's clearly
so
like way
good.
older. And then when they take the makeup, you can kind of get the hint.
The makeup comes off.
The
Yes.
makeup comes off, and their hair's all disheveled. And
It's so good.
but the reference here, they don't know how to get the files out of the computer, so they're like kind of and they start the also Sprach Zarathustra, which plays in 2001: A Space Odyssey when the chimp learns how to use a bone as a weapon, I guess, or a tool. That plays here, and it's just when in 2001 I did not know what that was referencing. I just thought like, oh, they're acting like monkeys, and we've got this like orchestral song. And having later seen A Space Odyssey, I was like, oh, that's like an homage to that. We got Derek going to the derelict fashion show because he's expected to walk in it. He's still brainwashed. They're banking on Hansel being able to get the files. And I mentioned earlier, not like this, the derelict is a riff on a John Galliano collection. But as I told you all earlier, I used to watch America's Next Top Model. It's trash. It is absolute 100% trash, and it's one of those trashy shows that I'm like, I just can't get enough. And during if you all know the premise of that show, so Tyra Banks is the host, and essentially like, I'm gonna find these girls and narrow them down week by week, and they do photo shoots, and they judge their photos, and they do like commercial shoots and etc. So like the photo shoots always have this insane theme. And one time she did a photo shoot that was they were homeless women.
Derelict.
Right. And actually the link in the notes takes you to all the photos from that photo shoot if you're curious to see it. But
I'm looking now. This is something.
Especially when there's all the close-ups at first, and you're like, okay, and then when you get to the ones back out where they're like sitting in trash.
Yeah, the close-ups aren't too bad. It's like these are just kind of.
Yeah, they're wearing like hoodies and beanies, and you're like, okay, but then they pan out and.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna hang out by some rusty stairs. Ugh.
All right, more cameos here. So we mentioned Gary Shandling earlier. Sandra Bernard on the sidelines. Again, another random comedian showing up here. All right, so Derek's walking, and they're like, you know what? Like, he's going to be triggered by the song "Relax." So he's halfway down the runway. The song kicks in. He starts doing his like kung fu.
How they find that it's relaxed though is so bad. That was like the laziest writing.
Oh yeah. When
he comes in with the food, and it's like
Matilda.
It's a melon with cottage cheese in it. Fuck.
Which is.
But yeah, just him telling her to relax, and she's like, "Oh my god, relax!" Like, I don't know, but all right, sure, sorry, just had to throw it out there.
A pretty ham-fisted way to get that in there. I feel like you could have written that maybe a little bit more organically. Hansel comes in, and he's got the computer with him, and him and evil DJ Justin Thoreau are fighting, so the song keeps picking back and forth.
The fight's really good. Like
it's fun.
It's better than it should have been.
He's breakdance fighting. Derek kind of does this weird gymnastics Barani over the Malaysian Prime Minister, who's just loving this runway show, comes up behind him. He's getting ready to snap his neck, and then finally Hansel's able to stop the music and stop the assassination.
Yeah, I was gonna say then Magatu comes out and basically throws Derek under the bus and tries to get him to be the one arrested. And my favorite part, Hansel's like, "No, we got the files," and just smashes them. And the computer smashes, and he goes, "Where's the files?"
Oh, so when Magatu, oh, we forgot to mention, I forgot to mention earlier. So Magatu's real name, it's not Jacobine Magatu, it is Jacob Moogberg. And he was a former member of Frankie Goes to Hollywood, and he invented the piano key necktie.
Piano key tie necktie.
Yeah.
Yep, and he was a former member of the band that made Relax, and that's how that.
Yeah, he was the former guitarist. I knew it was here by notes for Frankie Goes to Hollywood. But this is like the one thing, the one Magatu thing that works for me. You know, he comes out and he's just like, his looks are all the same. Blue Steel, yes. Ferrari, the Tigra, it's the same look. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Which, as I said before, is a line I quote pretty frequently in my job day to day. But yeah, the whole line reading and his whole kind of physical reaction there really, really worked for me. And he has a like a ninja star.
Sure.
It's an M.
It's an M in the shape of an M. So he's like, well, I guess I gotta do this myself. He tries to chuck this ninja star at the Prime Minister. And Derek debuts his long-awaited new look, Magnum, which is exactly like his other looks. But Magnum somehow stops the ninja star.
Because he turns left. He achieved the dream.
The reaction by all of them, even Mugatu, where he's like, "Oh my god, beautiful!
It's beautiful!
It's so good."
Magnum. His dad's watching in the bar. For some reason, that's my only hang up with this scene. Is like, why the hell are they broadcasting this? I mean, I guess I understand why they'd be broadcasting it, whatever, in the context of the universe. But why was his dad watching it at the bar? Why was it on at the bar?
That's the point. Oh, the other thing that made me laugh. So, like, you know, Hansel chucks the computer down to the ground. He's like, I got it right here. And, you know, oh, well, it's destroyed. And Maury jumps up and he's like, I got all the evidence back in Long Island. And he's like calling his wife. And he goes, I got 2 words for you, sugar. Zip disk. And like firmly 2001.
Yeah, go ask some of the students on campus. Let's go ask them if they know what a zip disk is and see how many of them just. Well, one, to see how many even acknowledge us, and then what are the chances one person out of 25 knows what that means?
Yeah,
I had like a big zip disk reader that I bought, and I remember it was like, oh my god, this is 250 megabytes of storage. I will never need anything else.
Yeah.
This stream would have ended an
After 2
hour
minutes.
and 10 minutes ago.
Well, and then he's on the phone with the wife too, though, and he's telling her, you know, who cares? Just put it in the Tupperware. I'll heat it up later.
It's a casserole. It'll keep.
It's a casserole. It'll keep. I
Oh,
love
God.
it. I love Ben Stiller's dad.
Zip disks really didn't last that long, though. I mean, I feel like CDs quickly, kind of like CD storage, especially rewritable CDs, took over really, really quickly.
Yeah, very short-lived format. Although a format that I worried about far too much more compared to what like their use was, because like couldn't you like easily erase them? Like it was really easy to like just kill all the data on one and start over, which is I guess part of the appeal, but also like you're terrified as a kid, or at least I was, like, okay, I got to be real careful with this, 20 megabyte disc that has every essential thing in my life on it at that time, which wasn't much. I was a child, so essential was relatively purposeless then.
Magnum saves the day. Derek and Matilda kiss, and I like the touch of his bizarro black makeup smearing all over her face. Leads us to our happy ending. So I forgot to mention this earlier, but he wanted Derek, when he had his kind of change of heart about his career, wanted to open the Zoolander Center for kids who can't read good and want to do other stuff good too. And that I remember that being in the trailer of like, it's the tiny model and he knocks it in the floor and says, "What is this? The school for ants?"
How can we be expected to teach children to learn how to read if they can't even fit inside the building?
This center has become a reality. It's even got a tribute to his roommates. There's a gasoline fight statue
That's
in the
great.
courtyard.
That is great. The water fountain is amazing.
Maury is teaching class there and teaching young kids how to
Negotiate. Hold out for more.
So we see that, you know, he and Matilda have gotten married. They have a son, and she brings their son up, and she's like, "Oh, he had his first look today," and the baby looks at the camera and then does like a duck face, and I was literally like, was CGI advanced enough at that time to do that?
It had to have been.
That's
because it looks like CGI.
And
I mean,
is it enhancing the baby's? I don't know. I was like, I wasn't sure, but I was like, surely the baby can't like make that face. I feel like I sound like my mom right now when all the AI videos on Facebook that she thinks are real.
Well, it's all relative, right? Because I think CGI in 95 or 93 was tremendous in Jurassic Park, but in other movies it was like kind of shitty. You know, I think it's like, if that's like, that's probably got to be the only CGI shot in this movie. You right? Like, yeah. I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
I was thinking, it was like, I know it's really like just like a 2-second, 3-second shot, but I was like, God, this looks better than that weird baby in Twilight. Have you all seen Twilight where they like superimpose like an older kid's face on the baby, and it looks like a monster?
It's another favorite of my wife. Her and just like she like hate watches them, and
I get it.
So I've seen that. I've
Yeah.
seen that particular. It's so weird. We could do a whole lot on those movies, but
I like the books. I wasn't a big fan of the movies. I didn't watch all.
You read the books, huh?
I did read the books. In high school, look, I was doing anything I could do to get conversations with women. They were all reading the Twilight books, so your boy read the Twilight books, so I'd have something to converse with them about. Like, oh my God, you read those? Yeah.
For you, honey? Yes, I do.
You know, yeah. So, yeah.
All
The
right.
books were decent though.
That's pretty much the movie. It's a happy ending, and credits kick in, and it's a cover of Relax by Powerman 5000, which also puts this firmly in the year 2001. But I had to watch the credits multiple times to see all of the, you know, so-and-so as himself, as herself, as himself, because it's out of control.
It's ridiculous. I'm not even convinced that they got everybody who was actually in this movie in the credits.
Yeah, but that is Zoolander, and overall thoughts about this movie. So Josh, you said that you were kind of chuckling. You just saw it for the first time 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say that I don't know. It's weird. Increasingly, just in recent years, and especially even while considering this project before it was even really formed into an idea with you guys, I just found myself increasingly just being more open-minded about pretty much every movie that I watch in terms of engaging with it where it is and the level it's on, and trying to appreciate what's in it, and not to say that I'm just like, well, I'm just going to like everything, you know. I'm not intending to be that, but I do think I'm leaning more that direction as I get older. And I could totally have seen this kind of being like Slade. I could have seen myself probably hating this movie if I'd seen it in college, you know, or if I was, you know, like in high school when I watched it, if I'd seen it closer to when it came out. But now I watch it, and it's not my kind of movie. Like, I'm not, you know, kind of came across my draft. I'm not necessarily like an absurd comedy person. I don't lean that way, but I can appreciate it in bursts, and this is something I enjoy. I'll watch it again. I will definitely watch this movie again, and it's again this adventure I'm on unexpectedly with my son learning words. I'm hoping I look forward to him randomly wanting to watch Zoolander when he's like 8, and sharing with him the memory of, yeah, you got to watch this when you were 2 years old, buddy, and now look at you, you want to be a male model.
Oh God.
Any other lasting thoughts from you, Slate?
I mean, I feel like I probably already kind of laid out how I felt about the movie. But I'll say this, like going back and discussing it, like, you know, I definitely find myself chuckling at the absurdity of certain things and stuff. So it landed okay with me. You know, unlike Josh, I'll probably will never watch this movie again. And it's not like a active disdain for it. It's just not what I search for when I'm looking for a comedy. However, if we had to have this movie in order for Ben Stiller to have the creative freedom to make Tropic Thunder, I'm here for it. Like, I will be forever grateful to Zoolander for whatever part it played for me to be able to have Tropic Thunder, because that is my favorite comedy of all time, and I'm not like a big Ben Stiller fan. But I think that movie is absolutely fucking genius in just the way it approaches everything. So
I'm going to agree with that. Did you know that Owen Wilson was supposed to be in Tropic Thunder? I believe he was going to, I think he was going to do the Matthew McConaughey character, but he had just attempted suicide.
Really?
Like prior to the shoot, and was in treatment.
I mean, I loved Matthew McConaughey in it though too. I mean,
he was. I thought he was kind of perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, he's great in it. You know, Amanda. That's probably not even her name, man. Just look here, get you some bleach, and no. But yeah, I mean, so I'm here for it. I think it's a perfect film to start off for your selections. As far as like, I think we're really cooking right now with Fast and Furious and this movie. And then, now we're going to dive into some animated stuff next, but it definitely right now we're doing a good job of encapsulating like what's big, what's popular, who's hot, who's the pop culture icons and references of this time. So I think it does a really good job of setting the tone this early in the year. So,
and I believe we'll be talking about Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson again for the Royal Tenenbaums, which was released theatrically about 2 months after this one. Like wide release. It was released in December 2021. We did that one is drafted, right? Wasn't it?
No, it wasn't drafted, but it's
I thought it was one of the best picture.
That's another one that we're going to have to find a way to work in.
Oh shit!
Maybe we can.
It was part of the. It was part of the collection. The Criterion collection.
Yeah, it was eligible,
but it was not
category.
picked.
Okay, I'm kind of appalled that one didn't get drafted.
It was one of our.
I had to go with Mulholland Drive. I had to go with Mulholland Drive. I felt like that would have been an absolute crime. And I honestly thought that Royal Tenenbaums would have gotten picked. But I feel like if I picked that, then Mulholland Drive wouldn't have gotten picked. So
I would not have allowed that to happen.
Okay. Well, I don't know. What was
your
Criterion pick?
We would have I would have taken it with my wild card. If that had played out that way, I would have not taken Pulse, and because I would not have allowed Mulholland Drive not to get drafted.
Yeah.
It would have been absurd if it'd been the wild card selection.
The last pick of the draft is Mulholland Drive. That's crazy. So
you can't say that we aren't eclectic over here.
I mean, Legally Blonde didn't get drafted. You picked Pulse over Legally Blonde, bro.
He picked .com for murder over so many other things that should have been.
And I stand by it.
.com for murder.
Oh God.
Woo.
Do we want to, before we move on to our next segment, just briefly, what do we want? Do we have any strong thoughts about Ben Stiller as a director? Because I mean, there's nothing like I have a hard time, especially with comedies, picking up on certain ticks and things in terms of like what people are shooting for in terms of direction. But I think going back to before this movie, like stuff like The Cable Guy, is probably the first real example. Sort of the direction he ends up going in with Severance, and I mean he directs a lot of those, and he's the producer on that. I just think it's interesting to think about like what he's trying to achieve, just as a creative person in some of his work. Because clearly he's operated in comedy for most of his life, but I think even like something like this, it's absurd. It's a very much like mocking up this culture of supermodels and just like being obsessed with things, that are very superficial. Even that, like, even though it's like, it's clearly going for your gut, trying to make you laugh, it's also like it is a serious subject couched in this absurd comedy that he's trying to, he's trying to convey something pretty interesting, actually, even if it doesn't work for you ultimately. I think that's interesting.
The movies he's directed are kind of all over the map. I mean, you've got I would consider Reality Bites as what, like a drama?
Yeah, dramedy
with some comedic moments, but this is a farce essentially. Tropic Thunder is really a send up of action movies. The Cable Guy was very, very dark. The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, which I haven't seen, but wasn't that kind of his attempt at like more of a drama?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've read the book. That's the thing. I've never seen the movie, but I've read the book.
It's a book about a man who basically daydreams his whole life away. I think it's a short story. But it's weird. It's got like a lot of different aspects to it. Some of it's, I don't know. I never saw the movie either, but it was an interesting choice for him. I was curious to see, like, are films, like, are production companies like approaching him? Hey, would you like to be in this movie? And he's saying, I want to direct it and be in it, or is he choosing what he wants to direct and then picking himself to be in these films? Like, I'm curious to know what his thought process is, because he does have some odd selections. Tropic Thunder, to me, it's weird that we never got a Tropic Thunder 2, because it was so, widely received and probably his best big hit as far as movies go as a director. And, at the time, Brandon T. Jackson, I went and saw him, Al Pacino, if you will, I went and saw him in person do a stand-up, and, got him to sign my copy of Tropic Thunder and asked him about it, like, hey, we're going to get a second one. And it was one of those things that, like, they had talked about it. It was like, on the go, let's do it, scrapped it. And that happened, like, multiple times, and just never, something, for some reason, it never materialized. But, I don't know. He's just odd as a director.
I would also imagine that the amount of money they would have to pay Robert Downey Jr. to come back is probably beyond anyone's budget.
Well, that's a good point. That's honestly probably why it hasn't happened.
Jack Black too, but I feel like Jack Black seems like the type of person who would be willing to take less money for something he thought was really funny.
Because that came out in 2008, Tropic Thunder, and that was, little movie called Iron Man also happened to come out that year, and did a lot to rejuvenate RDJ's career, to say the least. So
the other thing, have you all watched Severance?
I've seen the first season. It's I loved it though. We need to catch up.
It's interesting that it's a pretty serious show, but it's also very absurd. I can kind of see his comedic sensibility come through in the way that things are presented in that show, but like the tone of it is like very.
Well, just the premise, right, is kind of absurd on its face. I mean, it's kind of sci-fi, sort of, I guess, sci-fi-ish premise, but I don't know. It's like it's also part of like why I think something like maybe Walter Mitty would have appealed to Ben Stiller. I don't know. He seems like a guy that's his interests go beyond a lot of what you would expect maybe from somebody who's like a funny guy.
So for this week's our special feature, bonus feature, whatever you want to call it, I decided that to talk a little bit about the whole 90s supermodel era. So kind of the rise and fall of the supermodel culture. And Zoolander is kind of taking the piss out of this. Like I said, it was apparently shown. The short film was shown at a 1996 VH1 fashion show, which I would say that like the mid 90s kind of puts it firmly in the height of that era. But I mean, you think about, and you all are younger than me, but growing up, and maybe it's also being like a teenage girl throughout the 90s, but there were so many women who were known for being a model, and that's it. And those are these supermodels. It's your Cindy Crawford, Christy Turlington, Naomi Campbell, Linda Evangelista, who has been famously quoted as saying that she wouldn't get out of bed for less than $10,000 a day. She has since claimed like that she regrets ever saying that, but because she got the piss taken out of her so much. But then you've got Claudia Schiffer and Kate Moss and Heidi Klum and Tyra Banks, and I mean there are others, but these are women who made careers modeling and were known for being models. And if you George
Kate
Michael
Upton.
Kate Upton. George Michael loved him some models. If you go back and watch like Freedom or Too Funky, like these women are showing up walking that's the music video. They're like walking down the catwalk in these fabulous outfits. And that doesn't really exist today in the same way. Like you can name somebody who's a model, but they're usually doing a million other things. So like Kendall Jenner, she's a model, but I mean, she's best known because she's a Kardashian and they have their whole empire and TV and everything else. Cara Delevingne, who I know more from acting in movies that failed pretty spectacularly. Suicide Squad, Valerian, and the City of a Thousand Planets. Haley Bieber, who is Haley Baldwin, daughter of Stephen Baldwin, and already kind of part of that famous family before she married Justin Bieber. But like having someone who is known purely for being a model and that's how they've made their money and their name and their career, I feel like that does not exist anymore. And, you know, a high-end clothing company is probably way more likely to hire an actor or musician. They've already got followings and like, by the way, I love Robert Pattinson. He took his Twilight money and was just like, I'm just going to do a whole bunch of weird shit.
Oh yeah, no, that's like him.
He's an
and-
artist
and-
for artist's sake.
Yes, he's an artist. And I love that about him. I've loved so many movies he's been in. He's like the spokesperson for Dior. Like he does all their campaigns. Sydney Sweeney. And that tone-deaf Great Jeans ad for American Eagle, for example. I mean, and Zendaya is done tons of stuff, you know, but and I was kind of like reading about, you know, how this came to be, and it really seems like social media is what sort of maybe killed that culture. That, you know, supermodels used to be this kind of like mysterious, enigmatic, they're kind of up on a pedestal. They were truly like, this is an unattainable look, lifestyle, everything about it. And now social media, everyone's trying to be so like relatable because you're wanting to get likes and follows and interact with your fans. And that, yeah, I just don't think it exists anymore. And then you've got, as I mentioned, Tyra Banks, who started there. It's almost like they're pulling back the curtain on the industry, you know, with America's Next Top Model with Tyra Banks, which I have no doubt that is probably very little to do with like how a real modeling career works. But I find it very interesting to see what they did in photo shoots and when they talk about looks in photography, and she would, you know, as they're judging them, she would kind of explain what they liked and what they didn't, and how people with interesting features oftentimes would make the best models. And then like Heidi Klum started Project Runway, which is a show that I really, really loved for years. I like shows where people get to create things, essentially. But seeing that kind of behind the scenes of designers and models creating clothing and what works and what doesn't. But it made that world so much more accessible, I guess. And that kind of, all this is kind of leading me to Zoolander came out kind of near the tail end of this era of like this, you know, these highbrow supermodels. They're so self-serious about the world that they're in. And, you know, Zoolander satirizes that. And if it was released today, didn't exist 25 years ago, I don't know that it would have the same kind of satirical impact, because that level of supermodel doesn't exist anymore. Does that make sense?
I think it would pivot. So going to what you're saying about being models is, you're right. Like that, the way that existed then is different. In today's time, now it's more about being a social media influencer. A lot of these models become models based off of OnlyFans accounts or just risky, but borderline risky, like not nudity, you know, Instagram, fitness profiles, all of these different things. And that's how they, you know, but then they pivot to doing podcasts, and then that's how they get into movies and everything else. Like Eva Mendes, who's, you know, she really comes out in 2001, like Training Day is like probably one of the first big movies that she's in. She was a model that was a video girl that, you know, Will Smith found and they loved her, and then she started showing up to videos. And that's kind of what I think that a lot of models kind of pivot themselves to now, as they're doing their social media stuff and they're getting into music videos. And, you know, you get in the right music video. Sydney Sweeney was in Downfalls High, which is Machine Gun Kelly's 30-minute music video that's based off of his Tickets to My Downfall album. And this was, you know, she was young and like, I think maybe in one season of Euphoria, but hadn't like become who she is now, right? You know, and so I think that that's kind of the way it goes. But if you were to do this movie in today's time, instead of being models, I absolutely think they would be social media influencers that are dumbasses like Logan Paul doing everything for the likes, right? You know,
Yeah, you know, that was when Allison, when I was reading through the show notes, I kept thinking about like, like Zoolander is, Logan would be Logan Paul probably, like that would be probably the like that would if you were doing this movie over and with the context of what we think of as. And again, I don't necessarily think like social media influencers are a 1-to-1 like comparison with supermodels, because to me it's a much different thing, because I mean, well, obviously models still exist, but it's just such a that unattainability I guess still exists, like, because I'm like, I can't be a supermodel, like, but it's not like they're just not as important, you know. It's not something that's in our cultural awareness, right? Like, I think, and a lot of things are like that though. Like, movie stars are big and musicians are big, but I think everything feels a little bit less, I don't know, cool or important or whatever it might be, because of, you know, accessibility. We just see so much more of these people in our lives. I mean, think back, like, if you were following Heidi Klum back in the day, like you're just catching a glimpse of her on TV, or you're seeing a magazine with some photos of her, and now like you'd be following her Instagram page, or I mean, I get recommendations all the time for people I don't even follow, but like I've liked a post one time, and now I see them in bikinis every day, you know. Like, it's like just one of those things that I'm sure you deal with the same thing, Allison. It's
Sure.
But it's one of those things that the nature of how we just are inundated with stuff, nobody feels special anymore, really. It's like, and I also think what you brought up, like commercials and things for these people, I think probably actors didn't used to do commercials the way that they do now, you know. Like, that's something that's changed within the last 10 to 15 years, I feel like, you know, because I remember reading even back when I was in college, I went to school for advertising. And so I would read a lot about this stuff, and actors used to go overseas, like Japan and stuff, is where they would go make their extra their checks.
They didn't want to be seen shilling products in America.
Right. And now it's the complete opposite. Now everybody's just out, you know, chasing checks. And that, I think that probably the class of people that lost out the most was probably supermodels, because I mean, these were incredibly beautiful people who needed, obviously, people tend to want beautiful people on TV. And so if you're bringing beautiful actors in, why do you need this entire class of, people any longer? So I think they probably lost out as much as anybody with that development.
I think there's also some gatekeeping, you know, because in the 90s, you only became a model because, like, people in power had to kind of be like, yes, you're going to be the next one. Whereas like you said, anyone can be on social media and gain their own following, which then gives them the power.
Yeah.
Well,
totally.
and then not only that, but I think it's a level of ambiguity at the time too. I think back at this time, it's more about the product, and like Victoria's Secret wants you to see the bra and panties that this model is wearing, and she makes the bra and panties look great. Now it's more about, this famous person sponsors our product, and it's more about the name that's attached to it versus the product itself, it feels like.
I also kind of wondered, so, you know, there's a sequel to Zoolander 2, which came out in 2015 or
2016.
And, you know, I did see it, and I remember nothing about it. It had zero impact. Like, I was going today, it was like, I'm reading the Wikipedia, and there's a few things I was like, oh, I remember that. But I'm like, I don't remember the plot. I don't remember half these characters. It just, nothing. And it's like, I really, really love the original. And maybe it's just that nostalgic, like, kind of takes me back to that simpler time, being in that theater in college and everyone's having a good time. And Zoolander 2 also coming out in such a really shitty year, 2016, we'll just say. But maybe that's also part of it, like that it's still a send up of models, but it's just not quite working because the culture has changed at that point so much already.
When it also, I'm looking, it clear, I don't know how it was reviewed, but it didn't work for people. Its budget was twice that of the original movie, and it made exactly that amount basically back. So it was a bigger bomb than the first movie, which was also pretty much a bomb. And it's fascinating that the movie even got made. I guess it was, I mean, we'll talk about this a lot of times, I think, this year, but how much IP, intellectual property is such a driver anymore of things that get made and greenlit by Hollywood studios. And this is probably one of the more egregious examples of something like, I mean, maybe it was a little bit of a something Ben Stiller just really wanted to do because he came back and directed the movie as well. But I don't know, it just strikes me as one of those things as, maybe Paramount was or whoever, like, I think they distribute it, but they just came to him and said, hey, would you do this? And they throw the check at you, and you just kind of get the gang back together and try it. And it doesn't really matter to you if it performs well or not, but it's also like, man, like, you almost would rather him have done anything else probably than just another Zoolander, because 15 years afterward too. It's like, I think it's one of those things. I mean, if the movie does even just a little bit better than it did originally, you probably would have seen Zoolander 2, like in 2005, or something.
Yeah.
In there was 2016 was also when the Ghostbusters, the all-female Ghostbusters came out too. So maybe there's this that mining for nostalgia, like trying to bring back to appeal to millennials like me who grew up with these movies, and like just not quite working.
Yeah, possibly. I think that whole conversation is so, I love thinking and talking about that. So and again, I know we'll talk about that a lot probably, but it's just such a I don't know. I feel like every year creativity is just more and more getting
dwindling.
Dwindling, at least in the sense of like how studios value it.
Yeah. Unless you're Neon. Neon seems to really buy into creativity and originality with their scripts, whether they're horror based or not. I mean, look at Mikey Madison's film Anora. I mean, so that's a Neon movie as well. But you've got some smaller independents that really push that, and it's nice to see them getting some recognition, especially like with Oscars and award shows and festivals and things like that. If you're looking for good original concepts and films and filmmakers that think outside the box, it's not going to be in the box office. It's going to be at the film festivals and the stuff that you listen to that, people recommend that you might have seen a glimpse of and was like, oh, that looked interesting, and you forgot all about it.
Yeah, A20. I've enjoyed a lot of A24 movies.
Same. Yeah.
Well, that leads me to, I guess, the final question, and that is, does this movie matter at this point, 25 years later?
I think for this podcast, it matters. I don't think, like, if you were to do a time capsule of like film history, you're throwing this out there. If you're talking about an all-time, what you would call, I guess, stupid humor film, then maybe. For me, I wouldn't say it matters, but it's definitely a fun ride down memory lane, and it was more enjoyable than I expected it to be.
I'm conflicted because I do think it matters in the sense that Ben Stiller is still quite a cultural, like, I mean, he's not a cultural force.
That's exactly kind of how I feel.
But he is a big person in entertainment. Like, he's not someone who's like, he's kind of like the opposite of what we were talking about a minute ago. Of he's not always in your face. He's on the periphery of pop culture, but he is like a major influence behind it. And so that would be my argument for it mattering, in the sense of like, it is his it's not one of his biggest movies in terms of box office or how it was received critically, but I think if you just ask the average person, like, maybe not what their favorite movie, like if you just frame the question as, and it's hard for me not to say favorite because that's the word I want to use, but like, what is a movie you think of when I say Ben Stiller? I bet Zoolander comes up pretty fast. Like, it might not be your first, but I think for a lot of people it would be in the top 3 or 4 that they would name. Not saying they love it, like they might would just like it's just because I think the visual, like the poster, I know like that's something
That's true.
I think about a lot when we talk about these movies is the posters, like just because at this time all of these images, like, they're so much stronger than like a movie poster is today, in my opinion, because it was so much more kind of not in your face, but it was the thing that was you're constantly being inundated with it in a way that you aren't now, because when you went to the movie theater, which you did more back in the day, typically people did, you would see that poster for like 6 months. Like, you would go to the movies. I remember going to the movies and seeing posters for movies that weren't coming out for a whole year, and I remember being so excited to go to the movie theater just see if there would be a new poster in a slot.
The only director who can do that now is Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I miss that, and I think, again, times change. I sound like an old man, but like, I think that's part of the like why a movie like this would be strong in people's memories, even if they didn't like it, would be something like that, because it's something they just really strongly remember, and it's still a very formative part of his career, because he'd done a lot leading up to this and had 2 crazy box office success with There's Something About Mary and Meet the Parents. But in terms of his creative, what I think he was trying to do creatively, I think he would point to this as something that was pretty formative for him, I think, as well.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of in the same boat in that, like, ultimately, I don't think this. I really like this movie, but I don't think it matters, and especially with Zoolander 2 failing so spectacularly, I also think that, like, that kind of shows that it doesn't. And I really wanted to go and take an informal poll today at work of all the Gen Z people to ask them if they'd seen it. But there were no youths in the office today. Like, they were all working from home, so I didn't get to do it. But I'm really curious as to how many of them have maybe seen it. They probably heard of it in some capacity, but I think that's probably key. But the only reason I would think it would matter is Ben Stiller getting the chance to take such a big swing with this movie, which his previous, Reality Bites is a serious movie, Cable Guy. How did it?
It's weird.
It's weird. It didn't do super well.
It's so weird.
And then There's Something About Mary was a gross out comedy, and then Meet the Parents is kind of a more straight up. I don't know. Zoolander is such a big swing to take, and if that allowed him to kind of grow and get some clout and go on to make Tropic Thunder and go on to make Severance, then the movie matters to me in that case.
I'll give you that.
Yeah, I do think this is the kind of movie, like, yeah, it bombs, but I think probably creative people in the industry look at, and I bet they're always like probably patting him on the back, like, man, Zoolander, like, you
went for it,
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening to our now 2 hour and 20-minute discussion of Zoolander.
We're like 40 minutes past the runtime of the movie.
But Slate is leading the next episode, and you want to tell the listeners what's going on next time.
Yeah, so we're going to dive into the animated themes of 2001, and we're going to be talking about family heirlooms and traditions and myths, and going into the film that is Atlantis, The Lost Empire, which was, I think, the first Disney movie that was dethroned at the box office as being, the first year that Disney did not win. And we can discuss, is it because the movie's not good, or is it because of just the other movies that came out are better, and get into that topic, and also discuss, like I said, just the whole backstory around how that movie was made, what it's based off of and the history of Atlantis, the Lost City. So I'm excited to get into it.
The Sam Bowie of our draft.
I was gonna say it's the Sam Bowie, it's the Greg Oden, it's the Lynn Bias Dead on Arrival. So.
All right. Well, this has been Not Another 2001 Movie Podcast. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you at the movies.